Kevin Zay, why do people who are obviously hyper-partisan when it comes to politics claim not to be when confronted? Are they experiencing the same mindset as cult members do when you tell them they're part of a cult? Hey, Kevin, thanks for the question. Probably the most direct way to address this would be to say that there are very, very few extremists or people who get involved in, hyper-partisan thinking who consider that they're actually extremists. They don't really think of themselves that way. They think of themselves as very ardent believers, very firm supporters, very energetically on the side of good. And every one of these people absolutely believes that what they believe in and what they are doing and what they're pushing is good. They don't think of themselves as evil, mind-controlling, high-control, authoritarian people. Ever. Not one cultist thinks of themselves that way. Because once they start doubting themselves and thinking that way, then of course they start questioning what they're involved in. So it's a gradual series of steps that gets a person there. It's not a binary, on-off situation. So because it takes a while to get somebody into an extremist headspace, that gradual path that they walk seems like a very sensible, rational approach. They agree to one thing, then they agree to another, then they agree to another. And before you know it, that they're out in, Alex Jones land, or they are out in whatever extreme, hyper-partisan position they're in. And we can talk all day about left or right. It doesn't matter. Good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, there are extreme ends of all of these spectrums, and this applies to all of those extremities. So when you confront somebody on this and you say, dude, you're a cultist, you're hyper-partisan, you're being an extremist, you're being an authoritarian, whatever. Well, nobody wants to think of themselves that way, or at least I should say nobody who's sane or rational wants to think of themselves that way. And by far, the vast majority of people that you're going to meet and talk to who get into extremist mindsets are not mentally ill or insane. They're not. It's just, our regular function, the regular way that our brain functions and that rationality and belief work is anyone can get into an extremist mindset about something. They just have to buy into this series of agreements that get them there. And then their worldview is such that they can't imagine any other way of looking at things than that way. That's the part where things get, a bit nuts. It's not even the nature of the belief itself. It's the fact that the dial is up to 11. But they don't think that the dial is up to 11 is where I'm trying to go with this. And that's why an intervention of some kind is usually necessary to start showing them where they've gotten to, what they're looking, like how their worldview is a bit more than it should be, Okay, so, yes, people who are in a hyper partisan position politically are experiencing the same kind of phenomena that cult members are. Same mechanisms get them there for the most part. Motivated reasoning, confirmation bias, cognitive dissonance, right? Rejection of things that refute your worldview or refute the path that you're on or the belief system you've adopted. These are the mechanisms that are at play. Love bombing is a technique that's used to get people to that place on the spectrum. And of course, threats of some kind or another also enter in. Also, right, there can be emotional blackmail. There can be, any number of things. All of those things can also, in terms of external influences on the person, those are all at play just as much with hyper-partisan politics. And the number one thing, of course, again, high on the list of influencing factors here is echo chambers. Getting into social media echo chambers, getting involved in real-world echo chambers. I mean, now with the way things are, most of people are just kind of living in their social media echo chambers or Zoom meeting echo chambers. But it tends to be, from a sociological perspective or a group perspective, the person gets more and more and more involved in a group where the only people they're talking to are people from that in group, and they eschew or reject or get rid of anybody who's not part of that group. That is in and of itself not even that is necessarily a bad thing, right? Eschewing Nazis is not a bad thing. Getting Nazis out of your life, nothing wrong with that. So, but that's not an echo chamber situation. That's getting destructive forces out of your life. That's a little bit of a different thing, right? So you can take the action and misinterpret it or give it a value assignment where, oh, so you're saying that anytime anybody, gets rid of people or disconnects from people or shuns people from their life or something, or doesn't agree with people, doesn't want to hear about them, that is, hyper partisan cult thinking. Well, no, it's not always that way. This is where context is very, very important. Context always is king. Okay, so just wanted to realize I sort of went in a direction there and thought, oh boy, I better head that off at the pass. So anyway, that is my answer to your question, Kevin. I hope that satisfies.